Can we truly cheat death? Probably not, but some have come startlingly close. Imagine standing at the edge of life, knowing that at any moment it could all be over. This is the harrowing reality for those on death row. Yet, against all odds, there are individuals who have faced the executioner and lived to tell the tale. Rommel Broom. Our first story takes us to Ohio in 2009. Rommel Broom was scheduled for execution by lethal injection. However, the process turned into a nightmare. For 2 agonizing hours, executioners attempted 18 times to find a suitable vein in his arms and legs, even striking bone on one occasion. Despite their efforts, they failed to administer the lethal drugs, and as the situation escalated, the execution was ultimately called off. The repeated failures caused immense pain and suffering for Broom, who was left in a state of agony. This botched execution raised significant ethical and legal questions about the death penalty and the methods used. Critics argued that the attempt constituted cruel and unusual punishment. However, in 2016, the Ohio Supreme Court ruled that a second execution attempt would not violate constitutional protections against such punishment. Remarkably, Rommel Broom escaped execution once again on December 28, 2020, when he died in his cell from complications related to COVID-19. Wenceslao Moguel. In 1915, during the Mexican Revolution, Wenceslao Moguel, known in the press as El Fusilado, was captured and sentenced to death by firing squad without a trial. He was shot multiple times at close range, and to ensure his death, he received a final coup de grace to the head. Incredibly, Moguel survived this brutal execution. Accounts of his survival vary. Some sources suggest that he was discovered the next day, unconscious among the bodies of his fallen comrades, and was given medical attention that saved his life. Others claim that Moguel managed to escape on his own and later received care for his wounds. Despite these differing stories, what is certain is that he defied all odds and recovered. Moguel's miraculous survival earned him the nickname El Fusilado, which translates to the executed one, and he became something of a celebrity. He returned to Mexico, where he lived for another 61 years, a living testament to human resilience and the unpredictable nature of execution methods. John Babakombi Lee. John Babakombi Lee's case is one of the most famous instances of a failed execution. In 1885, Lee was sentenced to hang for murder in England. However, his execution did not go as planned. On the day of his scheduled hanging, the trap door beneath him failed to open, not just once, but 3 times. Despite thorough testing and ensuring the mechanism worked perfectly when Lee was not on the platform, it inexplicably malfunctioned each time he took his place. After the 3rd failed attempt, the Home Secretary decided to commute Lee's sentence to life imprisonment, considering the repeated failures as extraordinary. Lee became known as the man they could not hang, with many viewing his survival as an act of divine intervention. Willie Francis. Willie Francis's case takes us back to 1946. An African-American teenager, Francis was sentenced to death at age 16 by the state of Louisiana in 1945 for the murder of Andrew Thomas, a pharmacy owner in St. Martinville who had once employed him. In modern times, Francis's guilt has been disputed, adding another layer of complexity to his case. The execution was set and the grim process began. Francis was strapped into the electric chair known as Gruesome Gertie, and the switch was flipped. Instead of a quick end, the chair malfunctioned. On the day of his execution, a drunk prison guard had improperly prepared the chair, causing it to fail. Witnesses reported hearing the teenager scream from behind the leather hood, take it off, let me breathe," as he was shocked and severely burned, but did not die. His case went to the Supreme Court, which ultimately ruled he could be executed again. Despite the legal battles and public outcry, Francis was successfully executed a year later. Anne Green. Anne Green lived in a time when women faced significant societal challenges and harsh judgments. In 1650, she was sentenced to hang in England for infanticide, accused of killing her newborn child. The case against her was built on circumstantial evidence, and the community's response was influenced by the prevailing attitudes toward women and morality. On the day of her execution, Green was hanged and pronounced dead. Her lifeless body was then given to medical students for dissection, a common practice at the time. However, to the astonishment of everyone present, she began to show signs of life while the students were preparing for their examination. This unexpected revival prompted immediate action from the students and physicians, who worked quickly to resuscitate her. Remarkably, within days, Anne had fully recovered from her ordeal. Her survival was interpreted as a miraculous sign, leading many to believe she had been wrongly convicted. As a result, she was subsequently pardoned, and her case sparked discussions about justice and the treatment of women in society. Following her miraculous escape from death, Anne Green lived for another 15 years, a testament to her resilience. Joseph Samuel. Joseph Samuel's story is one of the most extraordinary cases in the history of capital punishment. In 1803, he was transported to Australia as a convict after being convicted of robbery and murder in England. As a part of the penal system, he faced the gallows for his crimes, a grim fate that many convicts met. On the day of his execution, Samuel stood before the executioner, fully aware of the gravity of the moment. When the executioner attempted to hang him, the rope broke, leaving Samuel alive and in shock. Undeterred, the authorities prepared for a second attempt. However, to everyone's astonishment, the rope broke again. This series of failures began to raise eyebrows among the spectators, creating an air of disbelief. Determined to ensure justice, the authorities made a third attempt. Yet again, the execution failed when the rope slipped, leaving Samuel standing unharmed. The authorities decided to commute his sentence to life imprisonment instead of pursuing further attempts. Samuel ultimately spent the remainder of his life in prison, a remarkable turn of events that spared him from the ultimate penalty. Alfred Packer. When discussing improbable escapes, the story of Alfred Packer is truly remarkable. In the winter of 1873, Packer, a prospector seeking fortune during the Colorado Gold Rush, was part of a group stranded in the mountains. Tragically, he was the only survivor. When his companions were found partially eaten while Packer appeared well-fed, he was accused of cannibalism. In 1874, Packer faced trial for the murder of his fellow prospectors and was sentenced to hang. However, his execution was fraught with legal irregularities, leading to significant delays. During the proceedings, questions arose about the evidence and the fairness of the trial, which ultimately stalled the process. By the time a new trial was organized, Colorado had abolished the death penalty, marking a significant turning point for Packer. As a result, his sentence was commuted to a lengthy 40 years in prison. Remarkably, Packer's survival was not due to a botched execution, but rather a combination of legal loopholes and changes in the law. Over the years, he managed to gain parole and was released after serving only 15 years of his sentence. Packer's case remains a fascinating example of how legal circumstances can alter the course of a life, highlighting themes of luck and the unpredictable nature of justice. So, we can cheat death, probably not completely, but there are many factors that influence the day we die, some more unexpected than others. From sheer luck to clever strategies, the ways to survive against the odds are numerous and fascinating. I'd love to hear your thoughts. How would you try to avoid your own execution? Would you rely on your wits? Or would you trust in fate to decide your end? Share your ideas in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. For more incredible insights, click on the video on the right side of your screen.